Keep your radio dial right here. You're locked into the hottest news station on the planet. Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Blazing today's hip-hop, R&B, and pop music. Keeping your radio on fire. Bringing you the hottest, realest, riskiest talk shows live 24/7. Live on hot7025fm.com.
This portion of What's the LGBT is brought to you in part by Rosie's Cleaning Services. Rosie's Cleaning Services is your one-stop shop for all of your housekeeping and janitorial needs. Specializing in commercial, residential, move-in and move-out cleaning, B&B preparation, and more. Rosie's Cleaning Services is ready to tackle any job, big or small. They send 3 technicians per service and bill at a flat hourly rate. With a combined experience of over 20 years, Rosie's Cleaning Services is your only choice for professional, efficient, and superior cleaning services. To learn more, please text or call 702-767-1116 or email contact@rosiescleaninglv.com.
Hi. Hey. What's up?
All your favorite artists.
Check it out. Say my name. DJ Khaled. This is Mila J. Bruno Mars.
On hot7025fm.com.
This is Norman J. Liverpool IV from What's the LGBT, and you're tuned into Hot 702.5 in FM sound. Be sure to catch us every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific. Greetings, everyone. You already know who it is, but in case you forgot, I don't mind giving you a slight reminder. It's your gay best friend, your good Judy, your next door neighbor, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, your gunkle, radio show host, author, all of the things. Baby, it is Norman J. Liverpool, and we are here for another edition of What's the LGBT right here on Hot 702.5 FM in Las Vegas and FM Sound. So before we get into the tea, honey, because let me tell you, this tea is boiling. Let's just take care of a couple housekeeping things, right? So number one, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you click that bell so you get all of the notifications. If you're on the website or our app, baby, go to the notifications. Set your alarm for Saturdays at 3 p.m. so you do not miss when the tea is being spilled. Because if you do, you're going to have to wait till next week unless you watch the replay. Don't forget you can download the app on Apple Play or Google. And if you're out there watching, make sure you're sending us some likes, some love, some comments. Or if you're feeling like it, give us a call at 702-551-5261. So let's take care of our sponsors. Now, y'all know I shout out Ponita every week. Now, girl, y'all helped her get through the top 10 of the greatest baker. So I think that she still needs our help. I think she got to the top 10. We want to see our girl to the finish line. So if you go to the greatestbaker.com/2022 /Ponita-more. The votes are free, and you can do one every single day. There was a winner last week, so shout out to the winner who got the half pan of peach cobbler just in time for the holidays. So if you are planning your menu and you know that so-and-so isn't good at the mac and cheese, call your girl Ponita and get a pan. Reach out to her at 702-480-8558. Not only will she get you covered for Thanksgiving, but every day she has a set menu. You can call for a private menu. Just holler at your girl. You can follow her on Facebook and Instagram at Ponita's Kitchen for her daily menus. And did I mention that she delivers? You tell her when you want the food to your house, and it shows up hot and fresh. Secondly, we want to thank Rosie's Cleaning Services. They're the one-stop shop for all of your commercial and residential cleaning needs right here in Las Vegas. For your free, no-obligation, non-judgmental quote, you can reach out to them by calling or texting 702-767-1116, or you can see them on all social at Rosie's Cleaning LV. And finally, we want to shout out Over the Top Living, Walking at Next Level Confidence Every Damn Day. That's my book that I authored last year. And there is a special running on Amazon right now. So there's additional discounts, and those will be running until through Black Friday. So you can go to Amazon.com, type in Norman J. Liverpool IV or Over the Top Living and get your copy today. They make a great stocking stuffer. It's a great coffee table book just talking about confidence and how the things that we can do every day and the reminders that we need to be a more confident person every damn day. So last week I thought I started something cool, so we're going to carry it on to this week. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my weekend. So last weekend my mom came to visit, y'all. So she came with my aunt. And, you know, I had thought that they had their thing, but I was so excited that we got to spend so many days with them. We ate so good. I mean, everything we ate was amazing. We went to the antique shop. Mom got her hair done. So we had a full weekend. And guess what else, y'all? Your girl got a job. So I'm going back to work. I'm really excited about that. And so I'll just throw in the caveat that the views and everything I'm saying right now is my own, okay, for anyone that might be listening. So yeah, she's getting back to work, honey. So for those of you who cannot even imagine what this would be like, there was a time when Norman, me, was not as out, open, and over the top, right? There was a time that I was figuring things out, and our special guest today was one of the first people that helped me on my journey. So on Fox News, Carlson Tucker describes my special guest as the nose ring girl after she sparred with the anti-abortion advocate Lila Rose. But to me, she's sassy, and one of the first people that ever made me feel comfortable in my skin. We worked together years and years ago, and she is one of the first people that just made me feel okay being me, non-judgmental, and one of the people that I attribute a lot of what I have going on to because I was able to have a supportive group where I could be myself. So without further ado, y'all, please welcome to my virtual stage, Cecilia Ray.
Hi.
Hey, girl.
How are you?
Girl, this is like literally a blast from the past.
It really is, though. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for everything.
I'm
so proud of you.
I'm proud of you, girl. So before we get into the topic that we're going to talk to tonight, talk to us a little bit about you, your story. You can throw in some bits about how you and I know each other, just so the audience gets to know a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, I'm from Chicago. Norman and I, we worked together years ago. Geez, I don't even want to say how long ago. It'll make me feel old. But right. He and I worked together, and he and I just immediately clicked. I felt like I knew who he was, and I don't know what it was, Norman. I just wanted to help you too, because I knew it was there, and I knew you wanted to. And I tell people all the time about you. I talk about you all the time. I'm always like, I feel like a mom so proud of her kids.
And no, literally, it was so crazy because I remember when we started working our shifts together, you were like, just be you, do you, whatever makes you feel good. And one of the fondest memories of mine is when we would get off of work and go to like those parties. Do you remember those underground kind of parties?
We used to go to so many underground parties or like loft parties. Oh man, ride or die.
Girl, remember when we would get those Sapporo's or those Fosters that were like 2 for $5?
Yes. 100.
Girl,
so before going in.
Literally. So what have you been up to? I mean, there's a lot of time that has passed since 2000 and whatever till now. So what have you been up to? Are you in Chicago? Tell us what you've been up to.
Yep. So I moved to LA now. I live here in LA about 5 years ago. I do hair. I did hair shortly after you and I didn't work together anymore. I went to hair school, did hair in Chicago, and then moved here to decide, start something new, get away from the winter. Kind of over that, but and then now since being here in LA, you meet so many different people, and doing hair especially, you meet a ton of different people. I mean, you never know what this person in your chair does. And so through that, I was able to go onto the Dr. Phil show because one of my clients was the producer. And she just told me, you know, we're changing the format. We want this and that. And she was like, and you're the first person I thought of. Of course, I was like, are you sure? You know, she was like, absolutely, absolutely. Like, she knows I knew the assignment, you know?
Right. So was there something that was like challenging, like where you kind of were going back and forth with yourself? Like, do I go? Do I not go? Do I speak up? Do I not speak up?
Right. No, not at all, actually. Honestly, when she asked me to, I was like, let's go. Like, I was so excited about it. Because I'm not going to lie, you put me in a room to talk about, if you put me in a room to talk about most things, I'm going to talk about it. But if you put me in a room to talk about Roe v. Wade, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm fine with it.
Wow.
More than fine.
So let's just jump all the way right in. So talk to us about, so for those of you that have not seen the clips, and I should have had them ready, I will make sure that I go back and post them here in the comments, because I think that that's really going to help set the stage for a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. But talk to us about that moment. You know, I've watched and rewatched that clip. I've posted on my social media when you were kind of going toe to toe with Lila Rose, and it seemed like you were the only vocal person in that particular moment. What about that? The topic of abortion and the topic of Roe v. Wade stirred up in you that you just had to say something?
Yeah, you know, because listening to her, when we were on the show, we were discussing two specific cases. And one was about a 10-year-old in Ohio who was raped by her father, and then had to go to Indiana to have the abortion. And then the other case was a woman, Nancy Davis, in Louisiana. Her child was going to be born with a crania, which means without a skull. And so it would die, you know, minutes after birth, or if not, still while it's in the womb. So to hear her talk about those things and then sit there and tell this is exactly what she said to this woman, Nancy, who was there. She said this to her. She looked at her and said, you know, I can sympathize with you, or I feel for your situation, but your child could have died in the loving arms of their parents instead of at the tools of the abortionist. And it was just like, you're telling this woman that she should watch her kid die. Like, you're telling her your child should be born whether it suffers or not. That is so triggering for me, because you're okay with inducing trauma onto someone else because it will not affect you. Period. She won't feel the result of anything that happens in another woman's life. So how dare you, you know?
And I think that the term that really kind of brought this like a slap in my face was carry it to bury it. And I think that that's one of the things one of the ways that you kind of described it. And that was heartbreaking to me, because I have people in my family that have had, you know, abortions, whether that was because that was their choice or medically sound. And that whole concept of carry it to bury it, that slapped me in the face.
Yeah. That's exactly what they want her to do. That's exactly what they're asking her to do. Carry it to bury it. It's insane. And then on top of it, with the 10-year-old, she said to me when we were going back and forth about the 10-year-old, and she said, well, we shouldn't punish the child for generational sins. But that is exactly what she's doing, is punishing a 10-year-old child by forcing her to have a baby that's her father's. You know, they are so concerned about the not living as opposed to the actual child that's alive.
Right. And what was really interesting is the way that, I mean, because I know you from way back, and, you know, I think that we're a little, you know, compared to how we were now, we can kind of, or how we were then, we can kind of compose ourselves, and we can, you know, speak a little bit differently. But I have to say that I was so proud of the way that you stood up for what to me was every woman in the world, that you stood up. So before we go on, Ceci, we're going to play a portion of that clip. Now, keep in mind, y'all, that this clip was edited, and Ceci will tell us a little bit about that. But take a look here at this clip.
It's really like
the year after a woman
to have the child. What kind of trauma is
the
that?
Trauma
that
is from the rape.
Somebody?
The trauma is from the rape. The child's an innocent party there.
The child isn't born yet. It's not there. really think you're a traitor to your own. And I will never be able to agree with you. There's nothing you could justify to say that she should have to carry it to bury it. There is nothing you could possibly say to justify that level of lack of empathy. And that's the problem I feel like in this country at the moment. We were founded on the lack of empathy, and we've just kept up with that tradition. If you have no empathy.
Abortion is devastating to women's mental health. No one talks about that. The year after a woman has an abortion,
it's really like
the year after a woman
to have the child. What kind of
the trauma is from the rape.
Somebody?
The trauma is from the rape. The child's an innocent party there.
The child isn't born yet. It's not there.
We should not take out generational sin on a child to say there's generational sin and that dad was an abuser, so the child should be killed. That's not fair to the child.
About rights.
Wow. And that was just a very, very small clip. One of the things that caught my attention, Ceci, is the emotion in your voice. It was almost as if you were holding back tears. Where did that emotion come from?
Yeah, I mean, because earlier before in that clip, I was talking about the 10-year-old. And so when I said to her before that, I said, you know, to hear you talk about a 10-year-old who's been raped, and that's when I said rape. And when I just saying 10-year-old that was raped by her father, like, got to me in that moment, because I'm talking to a woman who thinks that we should punish this kid for it, basically. You know, that's what we're going to do. So, yeah, I was really caught up in that second. But I was like, no, do not reel it in, girl. You're here to, you know, the assignment. You have to, you know, be able to have this discussion and not, you know, fall apart.
Right. So
but it was hard.
And I mean, and what I was a proud kind of friend when I heard the audience applaud you and really kind of rally behind you when you were talking about the lack of empathy. Talk to us and let me preface this by saying, I have Ceci on the show today to provide a platform for her to get her message out. I am a man, so this has nothing to do with me. And I want to preface that, because I feel that a lot of times people, you know, especially men, have so much to say about a woman's body. So I am coming into this as an ally for women and an advocate to provide the space. Listen, this has nothing to do with me. I believe that it is a woman's choice. And so I want that to be very clear, so that there's no confusion as to where I stand on that. Talk to us a little bit about being face to face with this woman who literally, and you said in one of your clips on your Instagram that you asked her to say, "I am a woman and my body." Tell us about that quote and how all of that came about.
Yep. So, you know, during the show while we were filming and stuff, you know, we were going back and forth. Lila Rose, and there's other pro-life woman, Susan Swift, who I will tell you a story about her. But when we were having that discussion, I said, okay, now enough. Simple yes or no. Should the government control your body? Forget everything else. Forget that it's a life for all this other stuff. Forget that, right? Because for me, abortion comes it's at the same level, but almost second to the fact that a group of people lost a right. You know what I mean? Like, it happens to me, my group of people, but it's the first time in history this has ever happened. So it's a very scary time. So that's when I just said, okay, enough of the rest of it. Yes or no, should the government control your body? And nobody on their side would say yes or no. So I said, okay, right now, out loud for me, I need you to say, I am a woman and I do not own my body. I said, say it out loud. And nobody would say it. And I kept yelling at them, say it out loud. And they wouldn't. And
so how did that make you feel to be in the presence? Like, you're obviously standing your point, and you know that other person, they're allowed to feel the way that they feel, in my opinion, as long as it does not infringe upon the rights of people who are having children, right, or having to make that choice. But how did it feel to be in the face of that and literally them not respond to the simple question that you asked?
It wasn't surprising. You know, I went there in mind that I was going to ask them to do that, because no one will, because nobody will, right? On their side, they'll never say it, and I need to hear them say it, because that's the reality that they're putting us in. So I wasn't shocked at all that they wouldn't say it, because it would almost be, if for them, it would be an acceptance of, yeah, I am number 2 to men, and they don't want to say that, even though that's what they're doing to us. It's hypocritical. I mean, that's what they are, though. They're complete hypocrites. 100%.
And how does...
You know what? Actually, really quick, the reason I say they're hypocrites, though, so that there's a specific example, is the fact that during the mandated vaccine, which I was not for a mandated vaccine because I'm pro-choice. And I said, ooh, no, I can't tell them to do that because they'll tell me what to do. I think they should have, but I'm not going to tell you that I can't do that, right? If I want to keep my human right, I thought they should have theirs. Foolish me, sticking up for people that, won't do it for me. But the specific case that, I lost my thought. Oh no.
About the we were talking about them being hypocritical.
Yeah, is that during that mandated vaccine, they were literally yelling, "My body, my choice." And here we are, me doing the same thing, and they just can't seem to understand it. And I don't know how they don't get it when they were just in that situation. Except, it will only affect me for the rest of my life.
How do you sit with that? How do you sit with the fact that you're saying, okay, I'm telling you, I'm agreeing with you on this hand, and then for the same people or some of the same people to come back at you and say, oh no, just kidding.
I just have no words. It's insane. I don't know how to, when I'm there, it's so hard to discuss. It is so hard to discuss this, because the thing is about the pro-life thing is I know that we'll never come to an agreement, you know, because they think it is a life conception. I do not. But we don't need to agree on that, because at the end of the day, what they're doing is trying to legislate something based on a belief. You know what I mean? And we don't all believe the same things. So that's really where the problem lies. You know what I mean? Like, the science hasn't said it is a life at this point. We haven't agreed on anything like that. So it just doesn't, no. It's
wow.
ridiculous.
For those of you that are just tuning in, this is Norman J. Liverpool IV here on What's the LGBT right here at Hot 702 FM, Hot 702.5 FM. And we are talking with Cecilia Rose, who went viral after she was on the Dr. Phil show and stood up to an anti-abortion activist, Lila Rose. We just played a portion of that clip, and I will make sure that I put the clip in the comments for those of you that want to go back, as well as some clips from Ceci's story. But we're talking about her experience being on the Dr. Phil show, standing up for I stand up for the rights of people who have to make the decision to carry or not to carry a child, because now in 2022, we understand that can be a cisgendered male. You know, it affects more people than we think. So she has stood up for us and has been attacked. And I want to talk to you about a specific attack that happened on Fox News. And what really threw me off is when I saw the picture, the very first picture of you there, and it was like in the height of your emotion. And it was just like, you look so angry. And Carlson Tucker described you as the nose ring girl. So talk to me about seeing that interview that they did with Lila Rose, and why or how it came to be that you weren't a part of that.
Yeah, you know what, actually, well, one, you know that they're not going to put me on that. I mean, they want to keep their base in that tunnel vision, you know what I mean? So if they have someone like me on, people on their side are going to hear me. They might not want that. Plus, I would absolutely destroy both of them, on their own network. They can't have that happen. But yeah, when that whole thing with Tucker happened, oh my God. First off, I was literally in the middle of a date with a stripper in my room giving me a strip show when my phone starts blowing up, and I'm like, what is going on?
Okay.
I see it, and I was like, oh my God. It was the weirdest Thursday of my life. Do you know what I mean? I was just like, what is going on right now? But, and it's also, for me, it was a total honor. Like, there was a split second that I got a little nervous, a little worried, but then I was like, oh no, I'm here for this fight. I'm willing to, like, I will fight half the country for the other half. You know what I mean? Not right now. I'll take it on.
Where did the worry come from? What were you worried about that would happen when you were being portrayed as this nose ring girl, this angry woman who was attacking this docile and gentle Miss Lila Rose?
Yeah, that's the funny part too, though, is that they, like you said, that picture they posted and everything, you know, it was to make me look as angry as possible so that she could look as calm and collected as possible. And the thing is that she was calm, but I feel like when you don't have empathy, it's very easy to keep calm. When you're not actually in it, like I was, it's easier to keep calm. I mean, yeah, it was a trip. It was a real trip. And I'm going to tell you, though, because she wasn't the only pro-lifer there. There was another one, Susan Swift, who was completely insane, Norman. Okay, you know what she said? First off, backstage.
Well, that's what I want to say. Let's talk about what happened backstage while you were getting mic'd up, and and what that whole experience was like.
Okay, yeah. So we're like backstage, her and I. You know, we're walking all through the studio and stuff, and finally they take us there, and they're micing us up. And I didn't know who she was, and she didn't know who I was. We hadn't really talked. I had a feeling she was pro-life because the way she was dressed, but I wasn't sure. So I then, we're chatting, we're being friendly. They asked us backstage, the producers, to put our masks on. So I did, and she said she didn't have one. So then they said, oh, we'll go get you one. So while they went to get her one, she turns to me, who she doesn't know, and very casually says, you know, I feel like the Chinese should be paying us reparations for this. I immediately, first off, here's the messed up part. My initial immediate reaction was, in my mind, was, oh yeah, you're pro-life. That is like really messed up to have the two be so, you know, easily correlated to one another. That's scary. And then later to find out that she's a civil rights attorney. What? Like, that's scary. You know, but it was really weird the way she said it because it was so casual that this is your normal thought. You know what I mean? It just
like not even trying to like, and see what one of the things that, you know, me and my mom were talking about is it seemed like back in the day, if people held certain opinions or certain thoughts, there was a certain aspect of kind of keeping some things to yourself. And
something better left unsaid.
Right. And I'm not necessarily condoning the thought or that thought process, but there was a certain level of I'm just not going to say anything, especially in what the old folks would call mixed company.
Right.
And what is so intriguing to me is since, and maybe it would happen before this, but I think personally, like since we went through the era with the person that was in office prior to Biden, I feel that there was a license given to say whatever you want to whomever you want without regard.
Yeah, 100%. You're totally right. You're absolutely right about that. I feel the same way. I feel like he gave license to a lot of people to just openly be hateful. It's because, like you said, when we were a mixed company, usually people bit their tongues. But now people are loud and proud about those things. And it's disturbing. You know, it really is.
It is. But I also have to say that on the flip side,
you know who they are.
Well, right. Well, one, we know who they are. And I think that it eliminates a lot of doubt into whom you're dealing with. And so for me, I've, you know, especially going through, you know, the BLM and all of that kind of thing, I was paying very close attention to the people that were closest to me, the people that were family members. And one of the things that really stood out to me about that particular instance is I was married to someone that did not speak up about the value of my life. And so that taught me that now I can see everyone that's willing to speak up for who they are. And it caused my circle to deteriorate. I'm like, okay, so now I know.
For sure.
Do you find that with this particular issue, being that we're talking about a human right, that you have kind of been at odds with some people that are close to you in your life?
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know people's opinions before necessarily, and then when you come to find out how they really feel, things shift a little bit. You know what I mean? You do start to look at a person differently, or wonder, okay, what else are you okay with or not okay with? Yeah, it's been a really weird time of just self-discovery and discovery of other people. It's been a trip. It's been a trip.
So what was interesting, so for those of you that are just tuning in. Oh, go.
Really quickly though, I was going to say, is because it popped in my head when you were talking earlier, is that, me standing up for myself and this and that. I told a gay coworker of mine that one thing I was disappointed in when I went to the Women's March was that it was just women. Right. I mean, there are obviously some LGBT, there's men there too, but that is mainly just women. And I said to him, I've marched for gay rights. I marched for BLM. I'm not gay. I'm not black, but I'm a human. So I stood up for you. And so people watching, show up for me, because I show up for you. Because
that's such a
human right.
That's a really, really good point, and we're gonna transition into that. For those of you that are just tuning in, we are here on What's the LGBT, and we're talking with Cecilia Ray, who recently went viral from her appearance on the Dr. Phil show. She was later quoted and shown in a very edited and very biased way on Fox News with Carlson Tucker, and so we're talking about her position as pro-choice. We're also talking about kind of what she went through with this ordeal of being on the Dr. Phil show, being attacked in a public forum, but also still feeling the want, the need, and the desire to stand up for a basic human right. So right before we took that little pause, you were talking about, going to the Women's March and that there was, only women, from what you could see, majority women, and how that you seemed that it was a lack of support. What would be your suggestion for those of us who want to be allies and want to kind of lock arms but don't really know how or, what to do?
Yeah, so that's just it. I mean, I can understand people not always coming to the march or the protest. We have lives that we have to carry out. Things don't stop. So in that case, if you can't come and march, make a phone call, write a postcard, or there are plenty of foundations that you can donate to that will send people basically in your stead, like to DC, fund them so that they can go do it for you. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of avenues on how to get involved, and some require legwork and some don't, but every little bit counts. Even, even just going out today and telling someone you're pro-choice, that little bit counts. Do you know what I mean? Just spreading word. Even that counts. Even if you're willing to actually say it out loud, that is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I too, as a black gay man, okay, I am all about human rights. And when we're talking about the basics of fundamental human rights, and so that's good for me to know. So I'm calling myself to the carpet, and I'm calling other people that claim to have this same viewpoint. I'm calling us to the carpet. Let's step up, let's stand up, let's lock arms, and let's make our voices heard. Because just like as a black person, we need allies, right, to get the movement and shift the dial. Even from the LGBTQ standpoint, we need allies. We need, those people that lock arms with us in order for us to move the dial on these issues. So I'm calling everyone to the carpet, including myself, that if we say that we really care about these things, because this is the thing. I have sisters, okay? I have a mother. I have aunts and uncles. So, a lot of times, we'll use the excuse where it doesn't really affect me. Well, it truly does. It truly does. And if it does not affect your person physically, it impacts someone that is in your life, whether you know it or not.
Right.
Girl.
No, that's just it. I tell people, I showed up for you, show up for me. Everybody has a woman in their life that they love. to show up for her. You know?
And
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and to push that envelope is maybe you don't, maybe, let's just say you don't have a woman in your life, okay? But there's someone in your life that this is affecting, whether it be the partner of someone you know that has to make a difficult decision, the family member of someone that you know what I'm saying? And not even to go into the whole trans thing, which is one of the most underrepresented communities within the LGBTQIA plus community. You've called me to the carpet today, and I thank you for that, because it's easy to say I support something. It's easy to say, I'm pro-choice. It's easy to say these things, but are we backing it up? How would someone even know? And that's why I wanted to provide the platform to you today to call us to the carpet, I guess, to say what we're doing has not been working, what we're doing is not enough. And
the main things that we can do is vote. And I know so many people don't believe in voting, or they think it's rigged, whatever, but it matters. It matters who's in office, especially local office. We don't pay enough attention to our real direct representatives, and it starts from there. It is so scary how quickly things can change just based on the wrong person being put in office. We've seen this.
Girl, I'm feeling it here. Yeah, girl, we're going through that here in Nevada. And it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind how we will hyper focus on like one or two things that we're lasered in on, and we can leave everything else by the wayside.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that wayside is so important. And so, thank God we got the Senate, but that's where you can make a difference. If, just vote. You have to vote.
And one of the things that, I've been kind of exploring around this issue, and again, we're talking about the lack of empathy, and we're talking about that. But one of the things that affects me in a very real way, because as a Black gay person, I deal with the same emotion, is the shame. The shame of talk to us a little bit about the shame.
The shame of what?
The shame surrounding abortion. There's the huge stigma around it.
Yeah. Because, if you are coming from a religious background, that judgment's already been built into you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've been taught that it's wrong, it's a sin, this, and that. So that judgment has been built in. And then others, their judgment comes from the fact that they don't understand the actual statistics on who's getting abortions, because I think in their mind they're always thinking it's some young loose chick who's just sleeping around, when in reality it's a lot of married women getting it. It's a lot of, like you said earlier, medical conditions that need to be addressed, so it has to be done. There's a lot of reasons in different cases, but I think a lot of people just go straight to it's wrong because God said so that judgment is just there and it's going to stay there, or they're coming at it because they have they don't look into it. They don't see who really is getting the abortion. These are also women who are married and people who have boyfriends. Like, they made the decision together a lot of the time.
And a lot of times in those types of situations, from what I'm reading, is those are also cases that are related to domestic violence. I know someone personally in my life who was a victim of domestic violence and found out she was pregnant because she went to the hospital after being beat. So imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're tied to that person the rest of your life, and it's completely ridiculous. And the thing is that it's not just about life; it's about the quality of life. And so they don't seem to ever think of that either. You just want to throw all these kids in the system, but shouldn't we care about the quality of life that we're going to bring a child into? You know, right now there's 400,000 kids in the foster care system, and we're talking about adding like 250,000 within the year. Like, that's insane. And what quality of life can we provide? You know, the more kids, the less attention we can give.
And not only that, but when we're talking and we're looking at statistics, and this is something that I looked into after researching your clips and hearing you speak, is that a lot of the people that are affected by this are low income, that this now is almost like a stronghold that anchors them into poverty. And talk a little bit about that, because you made a very valid point on your clip about because Lila Rose said something like, who is the least of these? And she was like, children. And you were like, no, the poor. And we're going to keep them that way. So talk to us about why you made that comment.
Yeah, she had said, you know, who's the weakest in the society? Who's the weakest in the society? It's children. And I said, no, it's the poor. The poor are the weakest, and we're going to keep them that way by forcing them to have these kids. And that's the truth. The poor are always the weakest in a society. The less money you have, the less options you have. You know what I mean? And this is one of the few choices that we had, and now that's been taken away. So now you have even less choice. And you're just going to put yourself in an even deeper hole of debt or whatever it might be. It's yeah, that's what it is. I mean, they're just going to try to, that class divide is just going to keep, you know, it's just going to expand, poor, rich.
Right.
And ripple effects here.
And I was going to say it's even going to divide it more so, not just between rich and poor, but it's going to divide the people that are in that bracket, like racially. Okay, because who is it affecting? That's the black and brown folks that are predominantly in these spaces, and it's something that, and I think the link is in the comments, but if not, it will be by the end of the show. It's in the comments. I want y'all to go and watch the link. Watch it in its entirety. Watch the show and really hear what Ceci, and I call her Cecilia Ray, what she was saying. And literally, she is standing up for all of us. And it's like, you don't realize it until you have this kind of exchange, this dialogue, right?
I mean, it's true right now. Honestly, that day that it happened, June 24th, I woke up and I legitimately still now don't feel like a complete human. It really stripped something from me. And it felt like I had this target on my back now. Like, you know how we said we've given a pass to people to say what they want? I feel a lot of the times too now, men who already had terrible thoughts, already did terrible things, it almost made it seem like it's okay for them to do those things. Like, I'm definitely now not as much of a human. It really took something. It did. It took something from me. And now I feel like, I think about the generation before us that fought for me, and now I feel like, well, now it's my turn. I have to fight for the young ones behind. You know what I mean? It's not even about me. I'm 35. If I would have a kid now. It's not even about me. You know. And
that's why this is even so much more important. You're doing this because it's not even about you in this moment.
No, it's not at all. No.
And just thinking about this, and then we're going to, as we get ready to wind down, I want to just say something, because what you were saying, it reminded me of an episode of Law and Order SVU. And I
Tell me which one. I've seen them all.
Yeah, I am a diehard SVU fan. I watch it every Thursday. I've seen every episode of all 24 seasons. Like, that's my jam. But there was this one episode, and I can't remember what season it's on, and I'm paraphrasing, but essentially a woman was raped, and for whatever reason, she chose to have the baby. That was her choice. She chose to have the baby. But then the plot twist was that the rapist then petitioned for custodial rights of the child.
Yep. And you know that happened in Louisiana. And they gave him custody.
That is scary as hell.
And that's the world that I feel like I wake up in, where a rapist has more rights than a woman. It is terrifying. It's terrifying. I just, it's like, it's not even about me. I feel like for the younger generation, for women who are my age, for 20-somethings, like, I just feel like I have to fight for you.
For those of you that are just tuning in, honey, you have missed a hell of a last 45 minutes. I encourage you to go back and watch the replay because we are talking here on What's the LGBT with Cecilia Ray about being pro-choice and about standing up for a basic human right that's been stripped. She said that she believes that she has been stripped of a certain level of humanity. She has gone on to say that it's easy to stay calm when there is a lack of empathy. And so I encourage you, for those of you that might be watching the replay, really quick, Ceci, tell us how we can connect with you on social media for those, because there might be people listening who says, you know what, I don't want to leave a comment. I want to connect with the person who said these things. How can we reach out with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can definitely check me through Instagram. It's at Very Ceci, VeryCeci, Very Ceci. You can find me on Instagram through that or TikTok. Okay. And I'm on Facebook under Cecilia Ray, and you can also find me under Norman Liverpool the Fourth friends list.
Yes, because everything on my page is public, honey. So you can go and you can see it. So when we're talking about the three main takeaways, okay, so one of the takeaways that I personally am feeling is that I need to do better. And I'm not going to put that onto anyone else. I will say me, Norman John Liverpool IV. I have got to do better because the things that I'm saying in terms of being pro-choice, but where's the action? So that's number one. And I'm big on taking action.
This is action you're taking now. You're giving me a platform. That's a big deal.
Well, I appreciate that you saying that. So I'm calling everyone to the carpet. We need to do more. We need to be more. We need to say more. And we need to understand that this is something that is bigger than my ability to reproduce, right? This is bigger because, like you said,
bigger than me.
Right. It physically does not impact me today.
But a group of people losing a human right eventually will affect you because they could come for yours next.
Baby, you ain't got to tell me twice.
I know.
Listen, as a black gay man in America, there's a quote from a movie and it says, being a gay man in America is a reality that can never be justified. Imagine being a black gay man.
Yeah,
and that was from a movie Trade. And that quote has always stuck with me because why does your reality and the choices that you make within that reality, why does that need to be justified by somebody else?
Right. Exactly.
So before we got on the show today, y'all, I had Ceci give me 3 takeaways that we wanted to make sure that we got out today. And we're going to go through them. We have about 6 minutes left. We're going to kind of go through them. And then I'm going to give Ceci the complete floor to leave her parting message. Number 1 is we should all have the right to live our lives the way we see fit for ourselves. Okay? So that's one of the takeaways that we want you to take with you today. Number 2, Ceci says we are all angry about the same thing, so we need to team up and step up for one another. And number 3, and that there is always hope. I think sometimes, especially when you're dealing with, issues that are so serious and so urgent, that we can lose hope. One of the things we want you to take away is that there's hope. As long as you're alive, you have hope. So this is the day that we can change our mind. This is the day that we can pivot. This is the day that we can refocus our passions, refocus our beliefs, question ourselves, call ourselves to the carpet and say, why do I hold this belief? Where did it come from? Is it rooted in BS? And how do I move forward from that? So those are the 3 things that we want you to take away. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut my mouth. I'm going to get off of the screen and I'm going to let Ceci come through and say what she wants to say in these last few moments of our show today.
Thank you, Norman. So, I guess what I wanted to say is that I am here to fight this fight for, and not even for half the country, for everyone. I am pro-choice in every way possible. I don't care what it is you do with your life if it's not affecting me or someone else in the negative. Do
Right.
what you feel is best for you. Gay, straight, I don't care. Man, woman, do what's best for you. Also, on top of that, when I said we're all angry about the same thing, I'm not even talking just abortion. And I'm not even Democrats
or just Republicans. I'm talking about all of America. We all feel that we're underpaid, overworked, medical system is BS, education is BS. We're all actually angry about all the same things, but for some reason, we always decide to break up into these tribes and try to get over the same wall separately, and it makes no sense. And, we need to vote. People need to vote. That is so freaking important. That's how we can get things on the table or off the table, like we've seen. So you have to vote. You have to stand up. I mean, that little bit makes the world of difference. And for people who don't believe in voting, or people who, you're pro-choice, but you don't want to do anything about it, you do have to remember the other people in your lives that it will affect, though. It's going to affect a friend of yours or your mom or your sister, whoever, is in your life will be affected, because everything that can affect a group of people affects every group of people. There are ripple effects that will come from this one thing. And we're talking ripple effects that will hit us economically, that will hit our planet in the way of climate change, because now we're going to have more people on it. This is going to create a very catastrophic. This is the first time in history a right has been taken away, and people need to wake up and realize that anything is possible, and what you think might not happen can happen.
Right. Well, listen, y'all. Listen, Ceci has got us together. I want to invite you to connect with her on social media at Very, Very, Ceci, Ceci. That's Very Ceci on Instagram and TikTok. You can also find her, Cecilia Ray, on Facebook, or just hop on over to my page, click my friends list. You'll see her there. But I want to thank you again for being on this show and really providing some insight and showing that it's more than lip service. We need to act. Yeah. So, Ceci, thank you for being on today.
Thank you for having me. I miss you.
And the thing is, girl, you're right in LA. This is ridiculous.
I know.
It's literally ridiculous. We'll do better.
Yeah, we will.
We'll do better. So again, we want to thank our sponsors today. Again, that's Ponita's Kitchen. We want to thank her for sponsoring this segment of the show. You can reach her on Facebook and Instagram at Ponita's Kitchen, okay? Don't forget, you can call her at 702-480-8558 to get your last-minute Thanksgiving orders in. Also, we want to thank Rosie's Cleaning Services, which is your one-stop shop for residential and commercial cleaning. You can reach them at 702-767-1116. And for those of you who are getting a jump on your Black Friday deals and your stocking stuffers, head on over to Amazon and pick up a copy of my book, Over the Top Living, Walking in Next Level Confidence Every Damn Day. The book has been discounted through Black Friday, so order your copies. You get them in about 2 days, depending on where you are geographically. But they make great stocking stuffers, and it's a great coffee table book to talk about confidence. So from all of us here, specifically me, because I'm the one here, at What's the LGBT, I want to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving, and we will be playing a replay this next week, and we will pick back up the week after Thanksgiving with an all-new episode of What's the LGBT right here on Hot 1025fm.com. Bye.